My name is Dr. Thomas Lorman. I'm the Associate Professor of Hungarian History, although I have a larger interest in Central Europe. I've been teaching at the School of Slavonic and East European Studies since 2010, and I actually did my postgraduate studies here from 1997 to 2001 and survived, which is why after a period of time in America, I came back to teach at the school. And it's quite possible that I'll be one of your teachers going forward. Currently, I'm the head of history this year and a bit of next year, and I might be one of your teachers. So the first thing to say is that the School of Slavonic and East European Studies, it was originally founded in 1915 as a part of King's College. And then in the 1930s, we generously received a large amount of money from the Czechoslovak government and became independent. And then at the beginning of the 21st century, we merged into UCL. And we have an autonomous position within UCL. Think of us as like Scotland within the United Kingdom. We have our own way of doing things, but we work within wider UCL. And a tremendous amount of UCL resources and opportunities and expertise are also available for you in the wonderful campus with its famous portico that you can see right here on this screen. But remember, CESE is an autonomous part of UCL, and we have our own distinct building, which is just by UCL, really. It's a part of UCL, it's just a side road called Taverton Street. Taverton Street, just off the Euston Road, just across from Euston Station, so easy to access, and in an area called Bloomsbury, which is full of wonderful squares, where when the sun is shining, and occasionally the sun does shine, people sit outside, enjoy the squares, and enjoy a cup of coffee, just a walk around. So it's actually, you get a sense of one tree here, but you have to think of a wider leafy campus. Thing to note here is that this was a purpose-built building for the school. It was part of the deal, the persuasive tip that encouraged us to merge with UCL. They really wanted us. Other universities were competing for us as well. UCL offered us a new building, and it was actually a state-of-the-art building at the time when it was constructed in 2001, 2002. And it has within it a curious design. We're on 5 floors, actually, plus a basement. And we have a library right there in the school as well. So we have our own distinct library, our own distinct offices, our own distinct teaching rooms, which sometimes you even get to take classes in. This is our base within the wider autonomous UCL. So, as I said, we were founded in 1915, initially as a language school, founded through a group of people. Actually, although we focused initially on languages, we always had a strong historical thrust because one of our great founders was a man called R.W. Seton Watson, who wrote the first history of the Czechs, first history of the Romanians, first proper academic history of the Czechs and Romanians, and a brilliant study of the Slovaks. He was a journalist / historian who went on to help found the school and became one of its professors. Eventually, we merged into UCL in 1999, and we are actually the largest academic unit in the UK dedicated to the study of Central and Eastern Europe. I mean, that really always has been our core mission. We've expanded enormously, and we currently have over 1,100 students and 100 staff. 100 academics plus 10 support staff. So really a large group of people working here. Our undergraduate department, undergraduate studies, is really big. But you'll absolutely find that there is a sense of community, a sense of shared work from everyone, because what brings people to the School of Slavonic and East European Studies is always because there is some interest in Central and Eastern Europe. And by the way, Central and Eastern Europe is vast. I mean, we define it from Germany, Berlin to Vladivostok. down into the Caucasus, up across the Baltics. So it's really a vast territorial swathe. And you might find people interested in Russia, you might find people interested in Ukraine, you might find people interested in Hungary, like myself in particular. You might find people interested in the Caucasus, Kazakhstan, Estonia, etc. Even Finland we include because it used to be a part of the Russian Empire. Isn't that a great quiz question? We offer 22 undergraduate degrees, 13 different postgraduate degrees, MA, 2 MRes, and the IMAS program as well. We have an amazing library. I just wanted to talk very briefly about the library because we've been developing a library since 1915 and we have incredible resources in it. We collect a huge range of journals. We have a vast amount of books. We can't fit them all into our library. We even have a store off-site which can rapidly get anything up to you. But also want to stress that not only do we have a library inside the school, just on our section, with an entire room just dedicated to Russia and Ukraine, former Soviet Union. Incredible resources. Academics come from all over the world through the summer, in particular, just to use our library. It's basically over 4 floors. Brilliant film collection as well. If you're interested in watching films on Central and Eastern Europe, we have over 100 databases of resources focused on Central and Eastern Europe. But of course, also, you're at Taverton Street, you're about a 5-6 minute walk away from the British Library, which has fantastic resources on Central and Eastern Europe. Got the huge main UCL library to which you're entitled to attend. The UCL has a number of other libraries that you may want to pay attention to. There's an entire library devoted to science and technology. And of course, there are also even museums around and archival collections of materials which you can access. There's also a brilliant library in Senate House, the first building in London taller than St. Paul's, where we used to be based. So you've got access to the Cease Library and all the other libraries in this area. Bloomsbury is an academic centre. It really runs all the way from the British Library in the north down almost to the Thames in terms of academic concentration of power. It's like an Oxford without the nonsense that goes with an Oxford or a Cambridge. So you find a whole series of libraries that you can access, searches, specialist institutes. There's an institute just round the corner dedicated to the study of the Holocaust and the Jewish experiences in Europe. So there's lots here for you to tap into. Yeah? We have a really an impressive array of academics who were brought in always, as is the British tradition, and particularly our tradition. No matter how good they are as researchers, we also want to know that they can teach, and they can teach well. And so I can assure you that what you will get is first-class research and first-class teaching. We pay very careful attention to that. And we carry out what I would say is genuinely inter and multidisciplinary research. I mean, these are the kind of terms which are bandied around, you know, such and such a person is interdisciplinary. Almost every single academic at Cease has learnt one or more of the languages of the region, has an expertise in one or more of the countries of the region, generally works across countries, cultures, and disciplines, not least because in our region, the borders keep on shifting and minority questions are always raised up. So my particular focus is Hungary and Slovakia. That means I extend my interest into Romania, Yugoslavia, into Austria, north into Poland. And of course, if I'm interested in the history, I need to understand the culture, the literature, and of course the economic situation as well. You'll find this, I'm not alone in this. What we do is and always has been in some sense interdisciplinary. And to help us understand the region, we have partnerships which we built across the region, not only close academic partnerships, for example, the IMAS, where you spend your first year in London, your second year abroad, but also we have a whole set of ongoing research collaborations with other universities across the region. The only place where, of course, our relationships have broken down is with Russia. That's the same with all British universities. We have no formal relationships with Russia, and we will not be able to allow you to, certainly not recommend that you can engage with Russia by visiting. On the other hand, with Russia, we've got the single best set of resources on the study of Russia and the former Soviet Union of probably any university in Britain or even Western Europe. We've always had academics working with us and researchers who couldn't visit Russia for various reasons. The current problematic relationship with Russia is not a new thing. Prior to the 1960s, it was extremely difficult to visit the country as well. We understand that. And so if you've got an interest in Russia, we'll work with you to find ways of thinking new about the region without actually going there, because that's sort of in our DNA. And there are various ways around it. We have a huge number of academics working on Russia who can't visit, but who find ways of exploring that region with dedication and genuine insight. So why do an MA at CEAS, particularly in history, right? I mean, one, it's a UCL degree, and UCL is one of the top universities in the world. You can Google your various surveys. There's different ways of measuring it. Let's just put it this way. UCL is one of the top 10 universities in the world by any metric that you want to measure it, okay? And CEAS is a part of that, part of the reason why UCL is successful, because we contribute our expertise. And that also comes back to us. You graduate from CEAS, you graduate with a UCL degree, and rightly so. All of our quality of teaching is done and assessed to ensure that it fits with the UCL standards. So your degree has that value and integrity to it that UCL maintains. At the same time, we're a small department or school within UCL. That means we do things in our own way. We teach to the UCL quality and standards, but we teach through our own operation. And because we're, particularly the MA levels, relatively small, I talked about having 1,100, almost coming up to 1,200 students in CEAS. Vast majority of them are on undergraduate programs. And even 1,200 is not particularly large compared to other UCL departments. We're small. And our postgraduate studies is even smaller. And that means that you will have small group teaching. I mean, as an example, I would be very, very surprised if you have ever more than a dozen students on a class, yeah, and sometimes less. Yeah? I mean, it can be down to 3 or 4. That's also true in that we also offer one-on-one dissertation supervision. I'll come back to that. So there's one-on-one teaching and office hours as well. But we're talking small groups of classes, 3, 4, up to 12, can be even less of a language. And yet, although we offer small group teaching, we offer an extraordinarily wide range of modules that you could select from. In other words, you can tap into the wide range of expertise of academics across CEAS. In fact, of the almost a dozen CEAS academics who specialize on history, most of them at some point offer an MA postgraduate class that you can take in some shape or form. And so if there's a historian at CEAS who you want to study with, there's a very good chance. Can't be guaranteed, always varies, but we can basically offer you this wide range of classes to into the particular expertise, to be taught by experts. As I've said, that means cutting across the board. Each of the historians, just take the historians at CEAS, about a dozen of us, is that we all have our own particular way of doing history and our own particular focuses. 3 of us do this, the Soviet Union, for example, just focusing on Soviet history and researching different aspects of it. For example, its relationship with the wider world, the material culture of the Soviet Union, the Stalinist period within the Soviet Union. We approach it in different ways. We have one of my colleagues particularly interested in gender history, and really brings out gender as a part of what they do. Myself, I focus more on political history and religious history, church history. So you get this different variations. Essentially, you get to pick, thinking about whose research interests, whose style of teaching fits best with my own interest. And we find that we can put that link together. So you study the thing you want to study with the person you want to study with. And our job is to make that goal happen. That's how you study best. In CEAS, most of the week during term time, sometimes even outside term time, we have critical events. We have speakers coming in and giving lectures. We have a regular set of research seminars where both ourselves and academics from around the world present research. I mean, London is a meeting place and visiting place for academics, and they ask us and we ask them to come to London and give talks where we can learn from their work, just like we do the same traveling around the world to go and give talks ourselves. Last year, for example, we hosted BASIS, major conference in the summer, which brings together most of the people working on Slavonic and East European studies in the United Kingdom. It's quite an extraordinary set. I mean, tell you how many events go on which are of interest. I don't have the energy to go to all of them. Then again, I'm getting old. You, I imagine, have more energy, more vigor, and could ultimately attend brilliant events with cutting-edge speakers on a range of topics related to Central and Eastern Europe almost every night of the week and get free biscuits. And yeah, I mean that makes us, I think it's right to say, the best place to study in the region. And that's not just a simple question of sales. It's the reason why I wanted to teach at CEAS and why I wanted to be a postgraduate student at CEAS, because that combination of expertise, engagement, cross interdisciplinary work where you can find your niche, it really makes us a fantastic place to come and study. Okay, what exactly goes on with our MA offering in history? Well, it's a one-year module, or you can do it part-time over 2 years, and that would be reflected in reduced fees as well. I mean, in other words, you pay half-half rather than the whole at one go. But you might also be interested in the MRes, which is a 2-year program, and IMS, which sends you in your second year to a partner institution somewhere in Central and Eastern Europe. To some extent, you get a choice. What you do is you do half of your study with us for a year, and then you go and do them, study there over there for a year. It's a fantastic way of learning a language, and I'll talk more about languages. Basic structure, if you think of it in credit terms, is 180 credits, and we have core modules that we really need you to take that kind of give you a good grounding. Then we have what we call electives, where you elect. It's not quite a voting system. You are essentially an electorate of one when you choose your modules. And then most of the time you pick a module. We give you a list of modules you can choose from, and you pick the ones which particularly fit your interests. There's an opportunity to learn a language. And by the way, among our many strengths, we have about 35, Ben, you can correct me, about 35 academics teaching languages at CEAS. So we cover a wide range of languages and we can train you pretty fast over a year, get you up to a pretty high level of language ability, which is tremendously attractive to employers and really important if you're thinking of going on to a PhD, doctoral dissertation, because doctoral work really does require knowing a language of the region. And I was taught Hungarian, and then they started teaching me Slovak while I was at the School of Slavonic East European Studies. And you can pick the language of the region you want to study. We'll be able to teach it to you. You'll get extraordinarily good teaching with a proven track record of success. Put the work in, and by the end of it, you'll be quite advanced in the language and ready for a PhD or to go into the specialized work that employers require. The end of the academic year of teaching at CEAS goes on for 20 weeks, 10 before Christmas, 10 after. And then after you've done that 20 weeks of teaching, learning, studying in the classroom, you'll move on to exam period, which comes after Easter. And then over the summer, in a one-year degree, You would write your dissertation part-time, IMS, MRes, slightly different, but it's over the summer. So you would start with studying with us in September, and then you would submit your final piece of work, your 10 to 12,000 word dissertation, the following August, September. And that essentially, so it's 12 months of work is the basic MA program. And the dissertation, once again, we allow you to say, right, you give us a dissertation topic you're really interested in on Central and Eastern Europe, something on Central Eastern Europe. Let's say Central Eastern European history. We're pretty much guaranteed to find someone who has the speciality to be able to supervise that effectively. It's very hard to imagine that you can come up with a topic, challenge us, come up with a topic that we don't think we could supervise effectively. And when I say supervise effectively, I mean the person who would be working with you, your dissertation supervisor, with whom you would meet fairly regularly, one-on-one, would be the sort of person who can genuinely provide you with the kind of expert advice to really get to grips with that project and take it to a point where it is theoretically publishable. A number of our MA dissertations actually end up being published or become the core of a PhD, conference paper, etc. We have that range of expertise at the school where we can pretty much cover almost any topic you'd like to focus on. And your dissertation is your topic, you choose it. Yes, we help to refine it with you, we help to point you in the right direction. But ultimately, dissertation is a chance for you to choose exactly what you want to focus on. And that takes up 1/3 of your entire overall degree marks. I know it's a lot of information I'm giving you, and there'll be a chance for questions afterwards. I'll try and do my best to answer them. Just talking about the amazing people, let me just give you 3 examples of people. Just pick 3 random people. Literally, I've not even picked myself. Okay, we have Alessandro Iandolo. Alessandro is pioneering new research on Russia's relationship with its neighbors, particularly to the south and east. So in other words, he's looking at Russia's relationship with the Caucasus, Russia's relationship with Central Asia. He's currently doing research on Russia's relationship with Indonesia. Now, that is the kind of ability we think Russia's relationship with Indonesia, that's extraordinary. That's a really interesting topic. It's not often talked about. Alessandro is a historian, so he's looking at how that relationship has developed over the course of the 20th century. Or Richard Butterwick-Pawlikowski is even in Poland regarded as the top academic on the 18th century Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. He's currently curating an exhibition in the Museum of Polish National History in Warsaw on the Kosciuszko uprising, which came out of an intellectual ferment where Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth produced, you could argue, the world's second written constitution before it was destroyed. Richard, they're absolutely the top man on the job there. He's got a brilliant new history of Lithuania that's come out. His work on Light and Flame is just an impeccable read on the later years of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. He works on Enlightenment ideas. He's an extraordinary teacher. And a third of our, I've just chosen academics, Anna Koch. She came and joined us through a sponsorship program with the German government, and she particularly is focused on the Jewish experiences during the Second World War and afterwards, and in particular, the way German Jewish women and Jewish women from across Europe experienced the trauma of the Holocaust Shoah. So it just gives you an example of the different characters. I could literally, and if you want, I could tell you about other people here, but to go through the list of amazing colleagues would take too long. And I hope these 3 examples make the point of the range of interests. Russia and Indonesia in the 20th century, Poland and Lithuania in the 18th century, German-Jewish relations in the Holocaust Shoah. I think that just shows you a bit of the range. Languages, employers value it. If you're thinking about a PhD and a future career in academia, and please don't look at me and be put off, it really is a wonderful job in some ways. I still regularly think to myself, I'm a happy person because I get to be an academic teaching at SEAS. But the core to it, the key that opens that door, is languages. And here are some examples of the kind of languages you learn. We have at least one, sometimes two or three people specializing in the teaching of these languages and more besides from the region. Also, wider UCL provides additional opportunities to study languages and onwards. But you learn a language, this is the best place to learn the Central and Eastern European language. There are languages we teach that nobody else teaches in Britain, and the density of language teaching here and the quality of it is probably, I would say, the single most important thing we do at SEAS. That is, to understand the languages provides the key to understanding the cultures. We need it as historians. You'll need it, whatever career path, to really make the most of the growing specialized knowledge that you will obtain on Central and Eastern Europe. You don't need a language to study at SEAS at the MA level. All of the teaching resources can be done entirely through the medium of English, even your dissertation. It limits what you can do, but it's there. On the other hand, if there was a single thing I could ask you to do at the MA, it would be to choose to learn a language. Even just to let you into a secret, even our staff who work making sure everything's smoothly running behind the scenes, they know languages as well. You wouldn't believe that right now in the picture with me is a Russian speaker, for example, who learned the language as part of their postgraduate studies. 2, on we go to enhancing your studies, events and research. Well, I've talked about the large number of public events, research and seminar series, involvement in journals and post-Soviet group. By the way, as an MA, we would encourage you, MA student at SEAS, we'd encourage you to be involved in the staff-student partnerships, which are great for providing advice on how to make the school and the program better. We'd absolutely encourage you to join the board of our journal Slovo, the Word, which is dedicated to the study of Central and Eastern Europe, and you become part of the editorial board for that, arranging reviews, overseeing publications. Great practice if you want to get into publishing or just to understand how academic publishing works. Slovo is its own serious journal run entirely by postgraduates, yourselves and PhD students. And we have a post-Soviet press group that works on the media depictions of Central and Eastern Europe, in particular, the media from the region. So every week we have a group of people who meet and look at what Russian and Ukrainian and other newspapers from the region are saying about developments. You get a level of critical insight that means that at many of our events, members of government, intelligence services, diplomatic services, policy experts come along to learn from the work that we are doing. And you can participate in that, listen, meet, ask questions, build contacts, network. And yes, we have a lot of networking opportunities, formal and informal. We have people at the school dedicated to making sure that you meet and explore the opportunities to go further. Yes, I look at every MA student as someone who I hope I can persuade and inspire to go and do a PhD. But if you want to go into the world of work, I mean, there's all sorts of links that you could start building. I mean, you could, let's take an example. We have very good relations with most of the embassies and cultural institutes like the Ukrainian Institute or Pushkin House, which is an independent institute working on Russian relations. We have very good relations with think tanks and international partners. So, for example, if you're thinking of getting into a think tank and working for a think tank, you come to us and we'll put you in touch with them and you'll actually get to meet them, impress them, maybe earn that place as an intern and ultimately a partner and paid employer. And of course, if you look at the careers, I mean, these are careers that students from CEAS come out from, going to work for charities and NGOs, reflecting a passion and commitment for the region, interested in development, interested in publishing, journalism or translation. Think of that step up from Slovo, for example. Policy and government. The British government recruits quite heavily from our student body, particularly if you've learned the language and show that you're willing to learn languages. That's a huge step forward. Teaching and education, obviously, I mean, and that, yeah, I mean, it's an excellent training as the MA to set you up for working in some forms of education and teaching. Consultancy work, which obviously pays considerably more than I get paid. Banking, I should mention those kind of things. Look, we're a couple of stops away from the City of London. So if you want to go and earn a large amount of money to pay for your MA afterwards, we'd smile at that. That's all good for us. It gets you to a point where you find that's what we want. We want you to find the job that you actually want to do going forward, hopefully connected to Central and Eastern Europe. A lot of jobs in the city are focused on Central and Eastern Europe, and we hope that we can give you the skills where you'd impress potential employers. Media, of course, journalists going into the region, people working on the region from outside, research and further study. Look, there's 100 million people in Central Europe, another 300 million people approximately live in Eastern Europe. We're 400, CEAS region's about 400 million people. That's a lot of people, and it has a lot of focus from an economic, social, cultural, political, journalism angle. And that's the region you're working on, and there's not a lot of people who focus on it. So ultimately, you are marking yourself out as having a unique set of skills through the MA program that will take you forward. Finally, your application, what we're looking for: good upper second class degree or equivalent in a relevant field. Knowledge of a language is not compulsory, but we definitely encourage you to study a language while you're at CEAS. Relevant work experience if out of education for some time. Yeah, I mean, look, I've got 2 mature students currently in my class on the crisis zone. They're absolutely brilliant. They made the choice to come back to CEAS. I salute them. And they were able to make the case that even though they'd been away from academia for a long time, they relished the opportunity to get back in. So there's no discrimination on the basis of age, gender, race, or anything else. And of course, we want students to be dedicated to focusing in on the region, because that's great when you're in the class and you look around and you know that every other student in your class wants to be there. That helps make things work better. And ultimately outline to us what is your career aspirations if you're interested in that, or you just say, I'm interested in the region, here's why, because that's what really matters to us. So my short answer to you is, and I'm sure you'll hear from lots of other open days, just how good their various schools are. And they're probably right, actually. I mean, Pitchen has got a series of amazing educational institutions. And there's something special about going studying in an Oxford or a Cambridge or an LSE. But when it comes to the study of Central and Eastern Europe, if that's what interests you and excites you, this is the best place to be. And I really hope, if you're interested in the region, that you come and study with us, because we want you and we'll make you welcome. And I'd look forward to meeting you in person to say thank you for choosing UCL School of Slavonic and East European Studies. So that's enough for me, and let's see if you've got any questions.